Aero had been accepted to Rael and Ava's School of Hard Knocks, and class was in session. The lesson? Catching criminals. The otherwise boring days between the GA cruiser's rotations evaporated as Aero trained under his new friends. With more and more visitors frequenting the tiny planet, many unsavory characters arrived with less than honorable intentions. Over time, the three racked up impressive numbers, breaking up street fights, preventing robberies, and assisting with random disasters. Rael and Ava's unhindered willingness to educate Aero in such a personal way, them taking him under his wing, resulted in the friendship Aero had always dreamed of. Several days after their fourth cruiser visit, a day when the monotony of resupply creeped back in, Aero decided to show his affection. "I want to show you guys something. Finish your breakfast and follow me," he said in a rehearsed tone. Aero led his friends through the town, over the bridge, past the tree with large branches and roots, reaching the edge of the forest. "I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you teaching and looking out for me. What I'm about to show you, no other has laid eyes upon. My secret lair, as you call it. Please pay attention to the route from here, otherwise you'll get lost." Rael and Ava both smiled. "Don't think you can show us your secret lair and get out of today's rounds. You haven't earned your boots yet. Not fully, anyway," Ava warned. Aero turned back, a big grin on his face. "Aha! So I have been getting better," he said, continuing to walk backwards. Ava and Rael took turns rolling their eyes at one another before venturing deep into the forest. Pushing their way through bushes and smaller branches, their trudge through the woods had come to an end. Stepping into a small clearing, Rael and Ava were greeted by a disturbing sight. Junk scattered across the bottom of a small hollow. At its center stood a single tree, holding the remains of an old, oddly shaped transport high in the air. "What is this?" Ava calmly asked. "It's home," Aero replied. "Or it will be once we give it some final touches." Ava was in shock at the statement. "Final touches? You're joking. You must be joking. This is just an out-of-sight place where the town dumps its trash." "No," Aero said, defeated. "I brought all this stuff out here. It was the best stuff I could salvage over the years." "I can say that transport is no piece of junk, even in its current state," Rael said. "How did you get it into the tree?" Aero chuckled at the memory. "I crashed it. It's also how I found this place." "Really?" Ava and Rael said at the same time. "Yeah," Aero said. "Everyone told me it would start but couldn't fly. I didn't even know how to turn it on. These Jerpins did. I guess they wanted to see if I was crazy enough to try. I doubt flying is the best way to describe it, but I got it off the ground back in town and ended up here." Rael left Aero and Ava at the edge of the hollow, navigating his way through the collection of junk. "I'm impressed you made it this far. This is a sail transport, meant to be flown by at least 2 pilots," Rael shouted as he ran towards the upside-down sail transport. Ava, who seemed to be crunching the numbers, began muttering to herself. "Well, I guess we do need a place outside of town if we're going to keep doing our thing. We are plenty far and right at the edge of the mountain, not really visible unless you enter the hollow. I'm sure Rael can cloak the position from tech. I guess, with some work, this could be our HQ." Confident with her deliberation, Ava began barking orders. "Rael, see what we need to get these lights on. This is going to take a lot of work." Rael stood with his back towards the others, inspecting the upside-down sail transport lodged within the branch collar. "If Aero truly flew it here, then we should be able to use its battery." Wait, what's an HQ?" Aero asked. "It stands for headquarters," Ava said, continuing to make moves. "Rael, I think we can make this work. Can you establish a command center somewhere on the ship?" "I know," Aero shouted, leaping from the edge of the hollow and wading through piles of junk. "Over here, look." Aero tossed coiled bundles of cable, motherboards, and empty crates aside while Rael made his way towards him. "I saw Till's command center and wanted one ever since, so I've been grabbing anything that looks similar to what's in the station." "Monitors, AI-driven computers," Rael noted. "You have been collecting some good stuff." "Oh yeah," Aero said. "You know, I just have an eye for value. It's an intuition thing." "Oh yeah, do you know how any of it works?" Ava asked with a smirk. "Well, I also have these spare anti-grav cells from the ship. My simple small world brain is no comparison to your big brain, but maybe we can use them to enter our new HQ." Rael chuckled. Aero remained grinning. Ava glared with rage at both of them. Rubbing her temples, she chose to move forward instead of playing into shenanigans. Being far from town, Rael did something Aero did not expect. He used his powers. Walking back and forth through shadows with pieces of equipment, Aero stared with an open mouth, completely fascinated. How are you doing that? Aero finally asked. It's one of my powers. I can basically walk through a shadow and exit any of the others nearby, Rael said, continuing to scavenge through the collection. Ava, on the other hand, ignored them, assessing the anti-grav cells and bundles of cables. She spent the next few moments designing several contraptions to make entering the new HQ as easy or difficult as desired. Upon seeing Aero standing still, watching Rael move between shadows, she had something to say. There will be plenty of time for that. Now's the time for work. Aero, why don't you begin organizing everything you've gathered into groups? That way I can determine its value, she said. Is it not already organized? Aero replied. While Ava tried not to explode, Rael could only laugh. Working together, the three of them made some serious progress in a short amount of time. What was once a hidden junkyard was on its way to becoming a hidden gem. Assisting Rael and Ava in finalizing the main entrance to their HQ, it struck Aero that he had forgotten to ask Ava a question. Ava, can you teach me how to do that thing you were doing on the bridge that one day? You mean when I kicked your ass? Ava recalled. It would take me years to teach you the moves to pull those attacks off. No, before that, Aero replied. What was it called? Oh yeah, can you teach me how to meditate? With how much you like to move around, that could take even longer, Ava joked. Over the next few days, the trio began to get their new HQ in order. They had another week or two before the next cruiser was likely to visit, giving Ava more than enough time to have her high standards met. As much as they wanted to, the trio couldn't stay out in the woods every night, otherwise their position would surely be compromised. Living back and forth between their HQ and the refugee center, merely to keep up appearances, became part of their game. Even on the toughest days, they played the game well, even better as a team. The trio's only focus was to protect and serve the town of Resupply. Not everyone who visited was bad. Many travelers were more than happy to share their wisdom and wild tales. If they weren't talking about the Shadow, the Galactic Alliance's war updates, or news from inside the dome, Aero would ask what they did for training. He was curious about what other species thought of training, especially anyone with the GA. One lucky day, Aero got to speak with a GA crewman enjoying a last drink before shipping out on the current cruiser parked in the atmosphere. Returning to HQ, Aero was inspired to work out, retelling his discoveries from town to Rael, who still tinkered with the command center. The guy said they use something called a gym, Aero said. He said it's filled with many devices and objects to enhance their physical abilities during long voyages. Why are you so obsessed with gaining strength and muscle? Rael asked, who was one level higher in the transport, only able to hear Aero. I don't know. I suppose getting stronger is important. At least that's what Till says. Yeah, let's go. Jumping down from the bottom level of the sail transport, which was now the top floor of HQ, Rael entered the command center to see why Aero was making such a racket. What are you doing? It's called a push-up. The liaison taught me, Aero said, catching his breath after completing a set of 50 push-ups in a row for the first time. Is that some kind of reptoid fascination? Rael questioned. I don't know what that means, but I do know they come in handy when taking a punch, Aero said, standing back up. It is not all about strength. I would wager that one's abilities and the level in which they wield them are more important, Rael said. That's easy to say when you can walk through shadows. If I could do that, I'd probably be training that, using it all the time instead of keeping it a secret. A frightened look appeared on Rael's face. If you only knew. Aero knew not to push the situation, but found himself staring at Rael. For them to have learned all this, what were their lives like before coming here? Finishing up the last task for the day, the trio returned to town. Reaching the refugee center after their usual tomfoolery, the trio noticed a pair of shadowy figures sneaking through the gardens of the refugee center. Investigating, Aero, Rael, and Ava dropped down from the neighboring rooftop and began following the secretive strangers. Suddenly jumping out from around a corner, they were prepared to deal with a pair of thieves looking to make a score. Instead, they found themselves gazing upon Liaison Till and Nurse Kisa locked in a passionate embrace. What's going on here? Aero questioned with a grin. Ava peered over Aero's shoulder, not so secretly enjoying the embarrassing moment. What are the lovebirds up to? She prodded. Dumbstruck, Till and Kisa stared wide-eyed at the kids, at each other, then back at the kids. In a step and slither, their bodies became two, pretending they had not just been caught in each other's arms. Till attempted to speak. Me and, don't you have something better to be doing? Ava, Aero, and Rael simultaneously sprouted wicked grins, having their intrusive discovery clearly confirmed. Kisa did the only thing she could do, fight fire with fire. What about you three? What are you doing lurking amongst the rooftops day after day, huh? What is it you're up to? The skeptical body language of Kisa and Till was enough to wipe the grins from their accuser's face. We're just returning from, Aero's, the woods. Ava was unusually flustered by the simple rebuttal. Uh-huh, that's what I thought. Kisa held her gaze. The moment turned to silence, remaining so until both parties decided to walk in opposite directions.